What's up, creators? So here's the current app we have. We can log in and do stuff like that, and whenever we do log in, it'll create an account if there isn't one, and if there is one, it'll just sign in. But when it creates an account, it only creates an account in the authentication. So we also want to have a collection of users in here where we could store data for each user, and we can have more information about them. So we're going to want to have a collection named users. Inside we'll have UID. The field will have fields like full name, we'll have email, we'll have when the account was created, and then group ID eventually for what group they belong in. We can add as many more fields as we want for anything associated with a user. So let's get into the code for that. The first thing we're going to need is to add a model finally. We're going to have a user.data model. So inside here, we need to define a class called our user. Inside here, what's going on? .data, not .data. I meant to do .dart. .dart there. So inside we're going to have a class called user. And there we'll have things defined like UID, email, full name, and timestamp of when the account was created. So we're going to need to add that in. So we're not able to add this in because we need to update our pub/spec YAML to have Cloud Firestore in it as well. To do that, we just do Cloud Firestore, and we can save that. We're also going to have to reload the app, so we can just close it for now. And then once we get that package, we should be able to import Cloud Firestore and be able to get that timestamp. So now, if we check, yes, we import the timestamp, and there we go. So also, let's create a constructor for this. We'll have this.uid, this.email, this.account created, and actually this.full name before, just to keep it the same organization as before. All right. So there we have our user model. Next thing I'm going to want to do is in the state, in our current user state, I want to convert our state thing that we're using to a user state for current user. So this means we're going to be provided all our user information for whoever is using the state, not just the UID and email like we had before. So we can delete that, and now let's update the rest of this code to follow our user model. So two more things you need to make sure to do. When you first instantiate, make sure you actually instantiate. You make it set it equal to an instance of the class. And then here, when you're signing out, create a new instance. I had it set to null, but if you have it set to null, then when you try to sign in again, it won't work. So you need to create a new empty instance of it. And let's make sure that it does create an empty one. And then we sign out, and it should be our user with everything null. Perfect. All right, so now on to the next part. We want to create a service called database.dart. This service will interact with Firestore exclusively or whatever database we have. So in here, we'll have a class called our database. Inside, we want to create an instance of Firestore so we can access it throughout this class. And then we're going to want two functions. So let's have the same setup for a future that returns a string called create user, and pass in our user. Since it's a future, we need to make sure it's asynchronous. Then in here, let's have a string called retval that returns error if nothing good happens, and then return retval. Then the main meat of the function is going to have a try catch, just like all our asynchronous functions do. And then finally inside, we're just going to create a user. So the way we do that is we need to await, then Firestore, then select the collection we want. We want to create a users collection. Inside the users collection, we want a document. The document name should be the UID. And then we want to set the data inside that document to the following. So we want to set full name to user.fullname. We want to set email to user.email. And then finally, account created, we can set to timestamp .now. So that's it for creating a user. Now if we want to implement this function, there's two places where we need to do it. It is in the sign up user with email, or sign up user. After we create the user here, we want to make sure we create one in the database as well. So in order to do that, we need to set this to auth result and have it return an auth result for us that we can use. Then if the auth result, or actually no, an exception will be thrown if it gets past that part. So we can just create a new our user instance, call it user. This is just a local one that we'll pass to our create user function. So this user will be set to auth result dot user dot uid, and user dot uid will be set to that there. Then user dot email will be set to auth result dot user dot uid, and then user dot full name will be set to a full name that we pass in here. So we don't have that yet. Let's add it. String full name. So we just set it to full name. And then after that, we want to create our database, create user, and pass in the user we want to create. There we go. So we have a problem here. Sign up user doesn't pass the full name. That's because we don't pass it here. So let's add full name to this list. String full name. And then we're also going to have a problem down here where we want full name controller dot text. Alright, so that should be it. One more thing I want to do actually. So here we don't have any check if it's successful, right? Then after this, we want to change retval to success. if everything was successful here. So let's say string return string equals this, await, and if return string equals success, then we want this to return success as well. So there's a lot of making sure things are going okay, but hopefully it's not getting too confusing. So I think this function should be done. Let's test it out. So if we go to this, we can delete the user's database, the user's collection, delete it, and then in authentication, we can delete this email one. So delete that. And let's go back to our app. Well, let's do sign up. In here, we will do creator bro, email creator@gmail.com. Not using the real one because I'm going to use that for the Google sign-in. ABRO123. All right, sign up. Email address is badly formatted. So there's an extra space there if you click enter. That's one rule. We'll probably have to fix that up later. Success. Interesting. Oh, nice little space here. Okay. Nice. So that just ruined everything. Sign up. This email is already in use. Okay, fine. Let's delete that. Did it add anything in here? It did, but let's remove that as well. All right, try one more time. Beautiful. So now in here, if we refresh, we'll just see a user was created. His name is Creator Bro. Here's his email. That's not correct. And account created. So the email, I accidentally put UID then. Yes, I did. Make sure that is email. All right, let's try one more time. All right, we have the user here and the database. We have creatorbro@gmail, this name, and when the account was created. It's a timestamp. So great, that works. Now we have one more problem. We need to do the Google one as well. So let's delete that, go back to the code, log in with Google. So this one's a little bit more trickier. So this auth result is going to return a thing called auth result dot additional user info and is new user. Since this function is used for the first time you log in and every consecutive time, you need to check this is new user property. So then in here, we can create a new instance of our user that we're going to pass. Call it user, our user, and then in here, let's set user.uid equals auth result UID, just like here. And same thing here with the email, but instead of current user, instead of setting a state, let's set user. All right, and then user.fullname equals auth result user.display name, since Google provides that for you. So we could do all of that easily. Then now we can create our database, create user, and pass in the user, and we should be able to create a database for that too. And there. So this success should happen no matter if it's a new user or an old user. So now if we try to sign in, with Google. Everything's updated. Do sign in with Google. Should be able to create user, sign in. If we refresh this, creatorbro@mail@gmail, and then in the database, should have a second user. It's me, creatorbro@gmail, and when an account is created. So now the creation of the account is done. Last step. We're going to need a future that returns our user, and this function will be called getUserInfo. And in here we're just going to pass a UID. Then as well async and let's create an instance of our user. Call it the return value, our user. Then later on, don't forget to return. And then inside, the usual try catch. All the setup is done. Then once we're actually inside of the function, we're going to receive a document snapshot from Firebase. Doc snapshot. So we get that by going to Firestore, the collection named users that we have, this collection. And we're going to go to document for the UID that we pass in, and then we're going to call get. So retval.uid equals UID. retval.fullname equals doc snapshot.data and full name. And the same thing for the next two items. We have the email, and then we have email, and account created. Here's our getUserInfo. So for this, we're going to have three places where we need to use this. When we log in with Google, when we log in with email, and on startup. So let's do the Google one first because it's the most complex, I think. So whether it is a new user or whether it's a re-login user, we're still going to want to call that function. So the function we want to call is in our database class, and it's called getUserInfo. The info we want to get is for auth result.user.uid. We want to get the info for this UID, the one that signed in, and we want to set it to our state. So the state of this whole thing is current user, and we're going to set it when we log in with Google in this case. So then if our state isn't null, we're going to return or set retval to success. This is the only way we're going to return a successful login with Google. If we go through all of this, and no matter whether it's a new user or a user trying to re-log in, we're going to get the information, set it to the state. If the state isn't null, return a successful login. Now I want to do the same thing with login with email. So we can remove all this setting and just do this. So we have our auth result. From the auth result, we have our UID. Pass that to get our user info, and if it's not null, return a successful login. And then last but not least, same thing with the startup. Instead of auth result here, though, we don't have it. We have Firebase user.uid, and it should work the same way. So now, sign out. Let's try every login method and see what happens. So if we sign in with Google, we should get that state, and we should see our current user is me with the email and UID, and when the account was created, all that information is there. Go next, it's signed in. If we just refresh, the onStartup method is going to be called. Still me logged in, everything's there. If we sign out and log in with email, we should see our current user state also being updated. Perfect. This is a different user. Still have all the information. So that's it. Now we have our database with 2 users. We could add whatever information we need more. So in the next episode, we'll probably start creating the groups, and we'll put the whatever user and what group ID they are in, that information, and we'll have another collection for all the groups. So that's pretty much it for this video. All this code will be on GitHub. If you have any questions or anything, leave it in the comments. If you have any suggestions on how to make the app better, also leave it in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and share, and thank you for watching.